Before we begin, if you enjoy stories of justice and revenge, please hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support means everything to creators like me. They say marriage is about trust, but I learned that some people treat it like a chess game where you never see their moves coming until it's checkmate. My name is Thomas Mercer, and I'm a 46-year-old contractor in Charleston, South Carolina. For 25 years, I thought I had the perfect marriage with my wife, Genevieve. Everyone called her Jenny, and she was everything I thought I wanted in a partner. She was beautiful with auburn hair and green eyes, charming enough to light up any room she entered, and seemed to genuinely love our life together. We had 2 grown kids, Lydia and Bram, who absolutely adored their mother and looked up to her as the perfect example of grace and elegance. I worked hard building custom houses and fixing up rental properties while Jenny managed our busy social life. She was always at charity events, dinner parties, and book clubs, making connections that helped my business grow. I was proud to be her husband and thought I was the luckiest man alive. Looking back now, I realize I was just another project she was working on, another mark in her long con. The foundation was completely rotten, and I was too blind to see the cracks forming right under my nose. Last month, I was renovating one of our rental properties downtown when I found something that changed everything forever. The old Victorian house had beautiful original hardwood floors throughout, but one board in the master bedroom was loose and creaking every time someone stepped on it. When I pried it up to fix the problem properly, I discovered a small leather notebook wedged tightly between the floor joists. It was carefully wrapped in multiple layers of plastic and looked like it had been deliberately hidden there for many years. The leather cover was worn and cracked with age, and the pages were filled with neat handwritten entries in blue ink. At first glance, it looked like simple accounting records or maybe a business ledger. There were dates going back decades, various names I didn't recognize, and amounts of money listed in columns. But something felt deeply wrong about the way it was hidden so carefully. Why would someone go through so much trouble to hide a simple accounting book under floorboards? I stuffed it in my toolbox and completely forgot about it until that evening when I was cleaning up. When I finally sat down at my kitchen table to examine it properly under good light, my blood ran completely cold. The handwriting looked eerily familiar, and as I studied it closer, I realized why. The notebook was completely filled with coded entries, but as I studied them for hours, clear patterns began to emerge that made my stomach turn. The elegant handwriting definitely belonged to Jenny. I had seen it on countless birthday cards and grocery lists over the years. The dates went back exactly 20 years, and there were regular payments listed alongside a name that made my heart stop beating. Cole Harrington. I remembered Cole very clearly. He was a smooth-talking banker who used to live in our upscale neighborhood with his wife and young daughter. He had moved away quite suddenly one summer, and Jenny had seemed genuinely upset about it at the time. I thought she was just sad to lose what appeared to be a close family friend. The entries showed systematic cash withdrawals from our joint account, always in carefully calculated small amounts that I would never notice or question. $500 here, $300 there, sometimes even smaller amounts like $75 or $100. The payments stopped completely and abruptly around the exact same time Cole left town, which couldn't possibly be a coincidence. At the bottom of several pages, Jenny had written cryptic notes like, C says meet at usual place, and told S working late again. The S was clearly me, Thomas. My wife had been meticulously documenting her secret affair and carefully tracking every penny she was spending to maintain it. The old affair was absolutely devastating to discover, but what I uncovered next was infinitely worse and more current. I decided to thoroughly investigate our present-day finances and Jenny's recent phone activity. She always left her devices completely unlocked around the house, constantly claiming she had absolutely nothing to hide from her loving husband. I logged into our shared phone account online and found detailed GPS location data showing exactly where she had been going over the past several months. 3 times every single week, she went to the luxurious Riverside Hotel during lunch hours, staying for exactly 2 to 3 hours each time. She had been telling me she was having important book club meetings or casual lunch dates with her longtime girlfriends during these times. I then checked our shared cloud storage account and found recent photos and intimate text messages that had been automatically backed up from her phone without her knowledge. The messages were with someone named Eamon Trask, and they made me physically sick to read. Eamon was apparently her direct boss at the high-end marketing firm where she worked part-time, supposedly just to stay busy and social. The photos showed them together in hotel rooms, expensive restaurants, and even our own family home when I was away at construction sites. My wife was actively cheating on me again, exactly 20 years after her first documented affair with Cole. The absolute worst part was reading exactly how they talked about me behind my back like I was some kind of joke. In one particularly cruel message, Eamon called me the dull workhorse who pays for everything while being too stupid to notice. Jenny replied with multiple laughing emojis and wrote, "He never suspects anything at all. Too busy with his little construction projects to notice I have a real life." They joked constantly about how ridiculously easy it was to fool me completely. Jenny shared intimate details about our private conversations and personal moments, turning them into pure entertainment for her lover's amusement. She mocked the way I talked passionately about my work, calling it playing with hammers and nails like a little child. They carefully planned their secret meetings around my work schedule, sometimes even meeting in our own family home just hours after I left for job sites. One message showed Jenny taking a selfie in our marital bedroom with Eamon lying next to her, captioned, "Thomas thinks I'm grocery shopping right now." 25 years of marriage, building a life together, raising children, and working toward shared dreams meant absolutely nothing to her. I was just a steady paycheck and a convenient cover story for her real exciting life. If you're enjoying this story of betrayal and revenge, please hit that like button and let me know in the comments what you would do in my situation. Instead of confronting Jenny immediately and giving her a chance to destroy evidence, I decided to gather comprehensive proof of everything she was doing. I knew she would deny every single accusation and try to turn the entire situation around on me, making me look like a paranoid, crazy husband. I started systematically documenting her daily patterns and suspicious behaviors with scientific precision. I installed small, nearly invisible security cameras throughout our house, positioning them to look like normal household decorations that nobody would question. I also secretly placed a sophisticated GPS tracker on her car and began taking detailed photos of her comings and goings at all hours. Every single evening, I would spend hours reviewing the footage and carefully tracking her movements on detailed maps. The evidence was absolutely overwhelming and undeniable. She was living a completely double life with military precision and careful planning. On Tuesdays, she met Eamon for extended lunch sessions at the hotel. On Thursdays, they went to his upscale apartment across town. On Saturdays, while I worked on various construction projects, they spent entire afternoons together at different locations around the city. She had become a true expert at lying directly to my face with incredible skill. When she came home from these secret meetings, she would act loving and genuinely concerned about my day, asking detailed questions about my work. I needed to test just how far Jenny would go, so I devised a plan. My trusted employee, Tyler, was young, good-looking, and single. I asked him to approach Jenny at her favorite coffee shop and flirt with her. Tyler was nervous about it, but I convinced him it was necessary. He went to the coffee shop on a Wednesday morning when I knew she would be there. He struck up a conversation about the book she was reading and asked for her number. That evening, Jenny never mentioned meeting anyone new. But over the next few days, I watched her exchanging messages with Tyler's number. She agreed to meet him for drinks on Friday night. She told me she was going out with her sister. The cameras caught her getting ready, choosing her sexiest outfit, and practicing what she would say. She was actively pursuing another man while married to me and already cheating with Eamon. My wife wasn't just unfaithful. She was a predator collecting men like trophies. My investigation revealed something even more sinister than adultery. While going through our financial records, I discovered discrepancies in our joint accounts. Small amounts of money were being transferred to an account I didn't recognize. I contacted our bank and learned that Jenny had opened a separate account using my signature. The bank teller showed me the signature card, and it was clearly forged, though skillfully done. Over the past 2 years, she had moved nearly $60,000 into this account. From there, the money was transferred to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. Jenny wasn't just cheating on me emotionally and physically, she was stealing from me. She had been planning her exit strategy for years, slowly draining our assets while I worked to build them. The The woman I loved and trusted had turned our marriage into a long-term robbery scheme. Every kiss, every "I love you," every moment of fake intimacy was part of her plan to destroy me. I needed professional help to handle this situation properly. I contacted Ivy Lang, a divorce attorney who specialized in cases involving adultery and financial fraud. Ivy was sharp, experienced, and had a reputation for being ruthless when protecting her clients. She reviewed all my evidence and confirmed I had a strong case. I also reached out to Rowan Drake, a tech specialist I had met through business connections. Rowan helped me secure all the digital evidence and taught me how to protect my assets. Between Ivy's legal expertise and Rowan's technical skills, we began building an airtight case against Jenny. Ivy advised me to continue documenting everything while she prepared the legal groundwork. She warned me that Jenny would likely try to destroy evidence or move more money once she realized I knew about her crimes. We had to be strategic and move quickly when the time was right. The trap was being set, and Jenny had no idea what was coming. Ivy, Rowan, and I spent weeks developing a comprehensive and brutal revenge plan that would systematically destroy Jenny on every possible level of her existence. The goal wasn't just a simple divorce settlement. It was complete exposure, total justice, and permanent consequences for her years of betrayal. We would hit her simultaneously on multiple fronts: socially, financially, emotionally, and legally, leaving her nowhere to hide or recover. First, we would expose her multiple affairs to her entire social circle, completely destroying her carefully maintained reputation in Charleston's tight-knit high society. Second, we would recover every single penny of the stolen money and ensure she received absolutely nothing in the divorce proceedings. Third, we would make sure her children, friends, and extended family knew exactly who she really was behind her perfect facade. Finally, we would involve law enforcement when necessary to press serious criminal charges for fraud and theft. The plan required absolutely perfect timing and flawless coordination between all parties involved. We couldn't afford to let her escape or destroy any crucial evidence. Ivy prepared all the necessary legal documents in complete secrecy, while Rowan created multiple secure backups of all digital evidence stored in different locations. I continued playing the role of the completely oblivious husband, giving Jenny absolutely no reason to suspect I knew anything about her crimes. She was walking confidently into a carefully constructed trap that would destroy everything she had built through lies and betrayal. I decided to have some fun with Eamon before revealing my hand completely. I knew he worked at Hartwell Financial downtown, so I scheduled a meeting with him about investment opportunities for my construction business. Eamon was tall, well-dressed, and arrogant. He clearly thought he was superior to me. During our meeting, I casually mentioned that my wife worked in marketing and might know him. His face went pale when I said her name, but he recovered quickly and claimed he barely knew her. I smiled and said, "That's interesting, because she talks about you all the time. Says you two work very closely together on projects." I let that hang in the air while I pretended to review his investment proposals. I could see the sweat forming on his forehead. Before leaving, I shook his hand and said, "I hope we can do business together, Eamon. I believe in keeping things close to home, you know?" His hand was trembling when he shook mine. He knew that I knew, but he had no idea how much. It was time to start the social destruction. Jenny belonged to the prestigious Charleston Ladies Social Club, where she served on the charity board. These women took their reputations very seriously. I had Rowan anonymously send one of Guinea's explicit photos with Eamon to the club president, Mrs. Harrison. The photo came from Guinea's own cloud storage, showing her in a compromising position at the Riverside Hotel. The message simply said, "I thought you should know what kind of person represents your organization." Within hours, my phone was buzzing with calls from friends and neighbors. The photo had spread through the social circle like wildfire. Mrs. Harrison had called an emergency board meeting to discuss the situation with Mrs. Mercer. By evening, Jenny came home in tears, claiming someone was trying to ruin her reputation with fake photos. I comforted her and suggested we hire a private investigator to find out who would do such a thing. She agreed immediately, not realizing I was the one destroying her carefully constructed image. The hardest part was watching how the truth affected our children. Lydia, our 28-year-old daughter, called me in hysterics after seeing the photo that was circulating online. She couldn't believe her mother would do such a thing. Bram, our 25-year-old son, was angry and demanded to know if I had known about the affair. I decided to be honest with both of them. I showed them all the evidence I had gathered, including the old notebook from 20 years ago and the recent financial fraud. Lydia cried for hours, feeling like her whole childhood was built on lies. Bram was furious and wanted to confront his mother immediately. I asked them both to wait until I could handle the situation legally. They deserved to know the truth, but I wanted to protect them from the worst of it. Both kids said they felt betrayed not just by the affairs, but by years of watching Jenny lie to all of us with such ease and confidence. The annual Charleston Business Awards Gala was absolutely the perfect stage for the next devastating phase of my carefully orchestrated plan. Jenny had been looking forward to this prestigious event for months, planning her expensive outfit and making sure all her important social contacts would see her there in all her glory. I volunteered to help with the technical setup for the evening's presentation, which gave me complete access to the sophisticated projection system. During the awards ceremony, while everyone was focused intently on the stage presentations, I quietly connected my laptop to the main system. Instead of the planned slideshow celebrating local businesses and their achievements, the massive screen suddenly filled with photos and messages documenting Guinea's extensive affairs in crystal-clear detail. Her most intimate photos with Eamon, their cruel mocking messages about me, concrete evidence of her systematic financial fraud, and even some damaging images from the old affair with Cole 20 years ago. The entire room of 500 people fell into complete stunned silence as Charleston's most prominent citizens saw my wife's true nature projected in high definition for everyone to witness. Jenny screamed in horror and ran from the room in complete humiliation, but the irreversible damage was done. Her reputation in Charleston society was destroyed forever, and there was absolutely no way she could ever recover from this public exposure. Word spread through social media within minutes, making her infamous throughout the entire region. The most surprising ally in my revenge came from an unexpected source. Jennifer Walsh, Guinea's closest friend for over 15 years, contacted me the day after the gala incident. She was disgusted by what she had learned about Guinea's behavior and wanted to help me expose the full extent of her lies. Jennifer revealed that Jenny had been bragging to her about manipulating me for years. She had told Jennifer about both affairs and had even asked her to provide alibis for her meetings with lovers. Jennifer had refused to get involved, but she hadn't warned me either. Now she felt guilty and wanted to make things right. She provided me with recordings of phone conversations where Jenny laughed about my stupidity and discussed her plans to take half of everything in an eventual divorce. Jennifer also gave me photos and documents that Jenny had left at her house over the years. The evidence kept mounting, and Guinea's own best friend had turned against her. With Ivy's help, I quietly transferred ownership of all our jointly held properties into a family trust controlled by me and the children. This included our main house, 3 rental properties, and a vacation cabin at the lake. South Carolina law allowed this transfer as long as it wasn't done to hide assets during divorce proceedings, but since Jenny didn't know about the divorce yet, it was perfectly legal. I also discovered that 2 of the rental properties had been purchased entirely with my income while Jenny was unemployed, making them separate property anyway. The house flip was complete within a week. When Jenny eventually tried to claim half of everything, she would find that there was nothing left for her to claim. The properties were worth over $800,000 total, and she would walk away with none of it. I had spent 25 years building wealth, while she spent 25 years planning to steal it. Now the tables were turned, and she would learn what it felt like to lose everything. The offshore account in the Cayman Islands became Guinea's downfall rather than her escape plan. Ivy filed emergency motions with the court, providing evidence of the forged signatures and unauthorized transfers. The judge immediately froze the account and ordered the money returned to our joint account pending investigation. International banking laws worked in our favor since the account had been opened with fraudulent documents. Within 2 weeks, all $60,000 was back in our domestic account, along with documentation of every transaction. Jenny had no idea this was happening since she was too distracted by her social humiliation to check her secret accounts. The bank also provided records showing that she had been planning to transfer even more money once she filed for divorce. Her exit strategy was now evidence of criminal intent to commit fraud. What she thought was her financial freedom became the rope that would hang her in court. Exposing the affair to Eamon's employer was almost too easy. Hartwell Financial had strict policies about employee conduct and conflicts of interest. I sent the evidence of their affair to the company's ethics board, along with documentation showing they had been using company time and resources for personal activities. Eamon had been charging personal expenses to his company credit card, including hotel rooms where he met with Jenny. The evidence also showed that Jenny had been feeding Eamon information about my construction business, which he was using to make investment recommendations to his clients. This created potential liability for the company. Within 48 hours, both Eamon and Jenny were terminated from their positions. Eamon lost his six-figure salary and his professional reputation in Charleston's tight-knit financial community. Jenny lost her part-time job and any chance of finding similar work in the city. Their affair had cost them both their careers and their future earning potential. The day Jenny came home to find her belongings packed was one of the most satisfying moments of my life. While she was out desperately trying to find a new job, I had professional movers come to the house. They carefully packed all of her clothes, jewelry, personal items, and furniture into boxes labeled for charity donation. I left the boxes stacked neatly in the garage with a simple note. Since you've been so generous with our marriage, I thought you might want to be generous with your possessions too. When she walked into our bedroom and found it empty of her things, she screamed so loudly that the neighbors called the police. I calmly explained to the officers that I was within my legal rights to remove her belongings since I now own the house outright. Jenny tried to claim I was stealing from her, but I showed them the property transfer documents and the evidence of her financial fraud. The police left without taking any action, and Jenny was forced to load her boxes into her car. The divorce papers were served to Jenny at her sister's house, where she had been staying since I packed her belongings. The papers cited adultery, abandonment of marital duties, and financial fraud as grounds for divorce. Under South Carolina law, her adultery meant she was not entitled to alimony, and her fraud meant she could be held liable for damages. I was asking for full ownership of all marital assets, custody of any shared debts, and reimbursement for the money she had stolen. The papers also included a restraining order preventing her from accessing any of our accounts or properties. Ivy had built an airtight case with overwhelming evidence. Jenny tried to hire her own attorney, but word of her behavior had spread through Charleston's legal community. Several lawyers refused to take her case, and the ones who would represent her demanded large retainers that she couldn't afford. She was going to face the legal battle alone and broke, while I had the best divorce attorney in the city and unlimited resources to fight. The courtroom proceedings were a complete massacre. Ivy presented our evidence methodically, piece by piece, until there was no doubt about Jenny's guilt. The judge reviewed the financial fraud evidence, the documentation of both affairs, and the testimony from witnesses, including Jennifer and Tyler. Jenny's lawyer tried to argue that she deserved half of the marital assets, but the evidence of her crimes made that impossible. The judge ruled that she had forfeited any claim to marital property through her criminal behavior. She was ordered to pay restitution for the stolen money, plus interest and legal fees. The final divorce decree gave me full ownership of all properties, all investments, and all personal assets. Jenny walked away with nothing except her personal belongings and a damaged reputation. The 25-year marriage that she had turned into a game was over, and she had lost everything. The judge even commented that he had rarely seen such clear-cut evidence of marital fraud and deception. The local media picked up the story after the court records became public. The Charleston Post and Courier ran an article titled, "Local Socialite Loses Everything in Fraud Case," detailing Jenny's affairs and financial crimes. The story was shared hundreds of times on social media, making Jenny infamous throughout the region. Her former friends and social contacts avoided her completely, treating her like she had a contagious disease. Restaurants and clubs where she used to be welcomed now refused to serve her. The charity organizations where she had volunteered removed her from all their records and returned donations made in her name. Her name became synonymous with betrayal and fraud in Charleston society. People would point her out in public and whisper about her crimes. She had gone from being a respected socialite to being a pariah in her own hometown. The public shaming was complete and permanent. The final blow came when both Lydia and Bram publicly cut ties with their mother. They released a joint statement on social media explaining that they could not maintain a relationship with someone who had shown such contempt for family values and honesty. Lydia wrote about how betrayed she felt learning that her childhood had been built on lies. Bram talked about how embarrassed he was to share Ginny's name. They both expressed their support for me and their pride in how I had handled the situation. The statement was shared thousands of times, with friends and family showing overwhelming support for the kids' decision. Ginny tried to contact both children repeatedly, but they had blocked her on all platforms and refused to see her. She had lost not only her marriage and her money, but also her relationship with her children. The family she had taken for granted while pursuing her selfish desires was gone forever. Her own actions had destroyed every meaningful relationship in her life. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I drove by the Budget Inn on the outskirts of town and saw Ginny's car parked outside. She was living in a cheap motel, working as a waitress at a truck stop diner, and surviving on food stamps. Her designer clothes had been replaced with thrift store purchases, and her carefully maintained appearance had deteriorated. I didn't stop to talk to her, but I could see through the window that she looked years older and completely defeated. The woman who had once been the queen of Charleston society was now a cautionary tale about the consequences of greed and betrayal. She had traded a comfortable life, a loving family, and a secure future for temporary thrills with men who abandoned her the moment she became inconvenient. Her exile was complete and permanent. She would never recover her reputation, her wealth, or her family. The game she had played so skillfully for 25 years had finally ended, and she had lost everything. Last weekend, I hosted a perfect family dinner in my stunning new waterfront home that I purchased with the money recovered from Ginny's attempted fraud. Lydia and Bram were there with their loving partners, along with close friends who had supported me unconditionally through the entire ordeal. We grilled fresh local seafood on the expansive deck overlooking the beautiful Charleston harbor while watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink. As we raised our glasses for a celebratory toast, I looked around at all the people who truly mattered in my life. These were the relationships built on complete honesty, unwavering loyalty, and genuine unconditional love. I stood up and said with a huge smile, Ginny wanted to play games with our marriage, but she forgot one very important thing. I'm a contractor who builds things to last forever, and I never start any project I can't finish perfectly. Everyone laughed heartily and clinked glasses together, celebrating not just my total victory, but the ultimate triumph of truth over deception. The house was filled with real, authentic laughter, honest, open conversation, and genuine relationships built on trust. I had lost a wife, but I had gained something infinitely more valuable. I had learned the crucial difference between performance and reality, and I would never settle for anything less than genuine love again. If this story of justice and revenge inspired you, please subscribe for more incredible true stories. Hit that like button and share your own experiences with betrayal in the comments below. Your support helps me bring you more amazing content.